All right, welcome to our next module. In this module, we're going to be talking about rational numbers. So, I wanted to give you guys an introduction into the module before we go on and get started. In this module, we're going to start to work with fractions, decimals, percents, and we're going to see how numbers can connect to the operations that we already know in regards to our integers that we're going to be working with throughout the module. We're going to learn about techniques that we use for all of the different operations that we're going to be solving for, and we're going to see how naturally they apply to rational numbers, even if they seem to look a little different. So, some of the topics that we're going to cover throughout this module is that we're going to convert fractions and mixed numbers into decimals and percents. We're hoping to make sense of how each format represents the same value, even though it's going to look different. We will be able to rewrite our decimals as fractions, mixed numbers, and percents. This is going to help us to strengthen our understanding of how different types of numbers are connected. In regards to adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, we're going to be doing all of that while we work with our rational numbers. And we're going to learn how to apply familiar integer operations to these numbers that we're going to be working with. We will be talking about the laws of exponents. So we will be able to evaluate and generate equivalent forms, which is going to help us to expand our skills in terms of simplifying expressions. We will also be simplifying those expressions and evaluating them by using the order of operations. And that is going to help us to keep our calculations organized and make sure that our answers are accurate. So, of course, we always want to know, why do we really need to know this? And of course, I want to make sure that you understand that it does apply to the real world. So, they pop up constantly in all types of situations, and they do require precision and making sure that you're using logical thinking. So, some of the ways that we deal with rational numbers is in cooking, nutrition, if we're serving different sizes or we're scaling up or down, we could be working with fractions and decimals. In terms of travel, time management, if we're calculating travel times or we're including stops, we could be talking about fractions, whole numbers. So there's a combination of things that we could be looking at. In terms of shopping and budgeting, understanding that percentages can help us to calculate discounts, taxes, tips, things that we've learned in the past. This just helps us out with being able to make sure that we can stay within our budget. And then another example is just in the sports and fitness area. We might want to track athletic performance. And so, for example, if we're running, there's quite a bit of time that passes within a second. And so we may need to go on and talk about it in terms of tenths or hundredths of a second or a minute. And so it just helps us to calculate those percentages in a time that allows us to set future goals and to make sure that we can find out, especially if it's a competition or something like that, we want to make sure that we can find out who actually won. So, um, we're going to be looking at the rules of exponents. We're going to be talking about that. So you're going to get some tools that you'll be able to use. It's going to help you to solve math problems. You'll be able to use it in your everyday challenges. And it's just going to make you better at math overall. I did want to introduce you to the key vocabulary that we're going to see throughout the module. We will talk about it again as we go through each of the lessons. And I tried to break it down so that it makes sense for you. It may not necessarily make total sense right now, but as we go through the module, hopefully you're doing your due diligence and studying and things like that, and it will become, more understanding for you. So we have exponent. We have our identity exponent property. We have the integers, the multiplicative inverses, power of a power property, power of a product property, power of a quotient property, power of powers property. We have, what else do we have? Quotient of powers property, our rational numbers, repeating decimals, terminating decimals, bar notation, and a zero exponent property. So those are the vocabularies that we are going to see throughout this module. So by the end of this module, I am hoping that you can answer this question for me. So, how are operations with rational numbers going to be related to operations with integers? So, let's think about that as you are learning throughout this module. I hope that you have the answer for me. So, let's go ahead and get started.